As always, hold up, sisters and brothers, cosmic children of the universe, sons and daughters of royalty, divine electromagnetic sparks of divinity, aboriginal, alkebulan, African, indigenous mothers and fathers of humanity, human civilization and culture. Once again, I'm Brother 8 GMTN Mwanga Sadaka Mantu Nemsayu Waset, and along with the executive engineer, director, and cameraman of MC Productions, the one and only and second to none, Brother Willie Mike Check Colbert. We together greet you, Ma'at Hotel, Namaskar, Ubuntu, Harambe, Amani Naupinto. Amani Naupinto simply means peace and love. Sisters and brothers, we thank you once again for interconnecting, ingathering, and ingesting what we call the red pill of accurate knowledge, truth, evidence, and facts and information, highly and heavily spiced and seasoned with unconditional love, so as to therapeutically experience and bear witness to another awesome and amazing, mind-quaking, soul-shaking, spirit-stirring, eye-opening episode of Purge, Purify, and Renew Your Mind. Coming to you, as always, from the backwoods, the muddy waters, the mosquito swamps, the sugar ditches, the dirt roads, the railroad tracks, rattlesnake plantations, cotton fields, mockingbirds, and magnolia trees, yes, and magnolia trees of Greenville and Delta, Mississippi. Wow. For those of you who may not have yet heard it through the cosmic community grapevine, the primary purpose of Purge, Purify, and Renew Your Mind is not only to purge, purify, and renew minds, but sisters and brothers, to enlighten minds, right? To empower people, right? To enrich, enhance, and elevate as many lives as possible for the better. And with all of the above being said, sisters and brothers, ladies and gentlemen, our subject or theme for today is conception comes before achievement. Conception becomes before achievement. And at this time, sisters and brothers, I endeavor not to be long-winded or waste your time, but I hope that what the ancestors guide me to say, that it be life-enhancing for myself and others. And I endeavor to make the point, that life is a process. Learning is a process. All growth, development, unfoldment, blooming, and blossom is a process. And I'm sort of hesitant because it's a lot on my mind today and a lot in my spirit. And I want to hope to drive home the point and to make the point that, we are a people who have been thoroughly robbed of the knowledge of ourselves. And many of our great scholar, warriors, leaders and teachers, male and female, have informed us in their own life work that we've been robbed of the accurate knowledge of our history and our culture. We've been thoroughly robbed of the mother tongues that we once spoke and that are still spoken on the African continent and around the world. But many of the sons and daughters or the children of so-called Africa in the diaspora, we have lost the knowledge of our languages, and we have lost the knowledge or been robbed of our way. You know, on our previous episode, I spoke about culture, and in essence I said that culture was the total way of life of a people, right? It's how they do everything, you know, and culture is unique to a particular people, you know, that all people have their culture. And when a people have been robbed of their particular culture, which is their mental, psychological, and spiritual orientation towards themselves, towards nature, towards others in the universe, that those people are robbed of their minds. And we are a people who have been robbed of our minds, right? Because culture, in essence, is a people's mind, right? And so I won't get in that much into again on culture, but at a later date, I endeavor to or aspire to go a little more deeper into culture. But really, I want to make the point today, and real briefly, and I'm thinking of not only thinking but bouncing off a powerful quote once again by one of our elder esteemed scholars, scholar warriors, Dr. Maulana Karinga in California. And this quote or this statement he made many years ago, and I'll read it right here, and I know it by heart, but I'll read it. And the quote is this: until we break the monopoly that the oppressor has on our minds, liberation is not only impossible, it's unthinkable. Right? So that's the root of today's message. Until we break the monopoly that the oppressor, and in this case, any oppressor, European oppressor, Arab oppressor, so-called Jewish oppressor, any oppressor who has a monopoly on our minds, liberation and salvation is not only impossible, it's unthinkable. And the reason why I say it's impossible, because you can't achieve what at first you have not conceived. And as I stated, our subject was conception becomes before achievement. Conception becomes before achievement. So it's three words that stands out: conceive, believe, and achieve. So nothing can be achieved if at first it's not conceived in the mind, in the consciousness. And what sort of disturbing to me when I look at us as a people, and especially those who are in a teaching capacity, whether it be in the home, whether it be through YouTube, or whether it be whatever the form or expression of the communication. And I see some of us, it seems to be come across that we are condemning those who don't have the accurate knowledge, right? Or I phrase it like this: it's impossible to practice, right, what you don't know and comprehend, right? Because as I stated earlier, learning is a process, and we look out into the atmosphere of life. Everything that live, moves, and have its beingness, there's a process, right? There are stages of growth and development and unfoldment that must take place in order to reach so-called maturity, or for the fruition, the fruit to bear, the tree to bear fruit. So think over this, brothers. Just think. I'm trying to make just one particular point that, and use many examples as I can to make the point. Think about a mother who has conceived new life, right? A sperm has traveled up her fallopian tube, many sperms, millions of sperms, trillions of sperms, but only one make contact with the egg and begin conception. Only a foolish person would look for a new life, a newborn life, the next day or the next week, right? After conception, there's a process, right, that takes place in the womb of the mother. And that process goes on for what? 9 months or 40 weeks, right? Before it reach the point of the moment of truth where that process is time to bear fruit, or in this case, new life, right? So I'm comparing that with a people who have been robbed of the accurate knowledge and truth of themselves, robbed of their accurate history and culture, robbed of their mother tongues and so forth and so on, right? Been hit in the head, have social amnesia, miseducation, as Dr. Carter G. Wilson called it. Dr. Wilson called it social amnesia. Dr. Bobby Wright, called it mental side. Dr. W. E. Du Bois called it double consciousness. And, on previous episodes, we talked about this, right? We talked about this. But the point here is, how can we expect ourselves, or why should any of us expect one to be able to practice something, right, for the better, when they don't possess the accurate knowledge and comprehension of what we say that they need to practice? It's impossible. It's a mathematical, spiritual, scientific impossibility. So sometimes we be, how can I say it, hard on ourselves or hard on others, right? Or hard and difficult on the masses of people, right? Because some of us, not many, but some of us expect us as a people, right, to live and practice that which we don't know. And even if some of us know what we need to live and practice, but then don't have the deeper comprehension of that knowledge. So that's disturbing to me. That's disturbing to me. Where is the patience that we must have? And I know that our position and condition is very critical, especially at this time in our sojourn. Very critical. And we suffering, we paining, we hurting, right? But the point of this little conversational or this message again, right, that regardless of how painful it is, regardless of how to what degree that we may be suffering, how critical the times are, healing still involves a process. I mean, we accept that and bear witness to that in almost every other area of life. Right? You go to the dentist if you need some mouth work done, right? May need a 2 or 3 teeth pulled out of your mouth. Well, it won't. Most time it's not done matter of fact, you have to schedule an appointment, and when you fulfill that appointment, right, they may just examine your mouth, see what's going on. Then you have to come back 2 or 3 times, right, or more. You following a procedure, right, a process of correcting whatever's going on inside your mouth, right, from a dental point of view. Same thing, it's a process involved when you have some kind of ailment, some kind of sickness, or whatever the problem may be. And you go to a doctor, you schedule an appointment, so forth and so on, right? The doctor has to do a diagnosis or examine you, see what's going on. And even if you know what's going on, probably you have to come back for another visit. Might have to send you somewhere else, right, to get an examination before they start the work of healing. So the point that I'm trying to make, that we should have patience, and especially those of us who are in a position of sharing knowledge or trying to share accurate information, share accurate knowledge and truth, evidence, and so forth and so on, to what? To heal the psychology, to heal to break the shackles of psychological bondage, to break the shackles of psychological and spiritual enslavement. Right? It's a process. We should be quick but don't hurry. Be quick but don't hurry. And be mindful of not blaming the victim for their own problems, blaming the victims for their own predicament. Something has happened. Our minds have been twisted. So our minds need to be untwisted. Think over that. Think over that. I hope I'm making the point. I'm trying to make the point. Because if we don't take heed to the point that it's a process, many of us, we may do more harm than good. We may not mean to, but we can do more harm than good. And I always say that any accurate knowledge, information, truth, and evidence that's disseminated, right, is good and necessary, regardless of the level or the stage of the individual or people. If that knowledge is accurate enough, right, that evidence, that body of facts and information is accurate enough, and as I said in the beginning, highly, heavily spiced and seasoned with unconditional love, then that knowledge is good. That information is good and necessary. It's fulfilling a need, regardless of the state of mind of the individual or the people involved. Because we all are not at the same level of awareness at the same time. And real briefly here, and I have been making this quote of Malcolm X at the end of the program, when I'm closing out, or as they say in church, the benediction, right? And I feel it's appropriate right now. He said, the quote is this: I know I'm speaking fast, I'm rushing, I'm going at a certain pace because I'm trying to get it out. Yes, I'm trying to get it out. And I hope it's following a certain continuity and it's making sense to you. So don't get hung up on how I'm saying what I'm saying and so forth and so on what words that's coming to me now that the ancestors are blessing me to say, whatever choice of word. Just stay with me. Follow the trail. Follow the red pill. Right? The quote is this: we need enlightenment. Light creates understanding. Understanding creates love. Love creates patience. And patience creates unity. End of quote. Light creates understanding, Brother Malcolm said. Light, the light of accurate knowledge and truth and evidence and facts and information, creates understanding. And from that understanding comes love. From understanding comes love. If we say we truly understand our position and the condition and what has happened to us as a people, and as how we, to what degree we have been thoroughly robbed of the knowledge of ourselves, thoroughly robbed of the accurate knowledge of our history and our culture and our languages and so forth and so on, and thoroughly robbed of our culture, which in essence is our minds, our mental, spiritual, and psychological orientation towards ourselves, towards others, towards the nature, and towards the universe, the cosmos. That's culture. Our people's minds. Our minds have been tampered with. And that should always be at the core of our, how can I say it, liberation and salvation, our programs, our dissemination, our sharing, our understanding. Because if we don't truly understand that properly, then there is no love. Regardless of what we how we fix our mouth to say that we do love, there will be no love. There is no love without understanding. But with understanding, there is love. And when I say love, I'm not at this time talking about sex, because sex and love is not the same. Sex and love are not the same. They are not synonymous. When we engage into the sexual activity or the sexual or intimacy or enter the course, that's not making love. Love exists before the sexual act. We don't make love. I don't care how often Hollywood put it before our physical eyes. You know, as much as we see it on TV, the male and female having sexual intercourse, whether it be on Netflix, our cell phones, or wherever we may be watching it at, this sexual act. That's not making love. That's not making love. You don't make love. Love is the power of the universe, the highest frequency in the universe, and it's not made through the sexual act. When we engage in the sexual act, we share love. If love already exists between the two people, we share love. We don't make love. Study for another time. Study for another time. But another portion of this quote from Malcolm X, love creates patience. Right? Look up the quote and take some time to meditate and reflect on it. Love creates patience, and patience creates unity. Once again, and finally, on this quote, we need enlightenment. Light creates understanding. Understanding creates love. Love creates patience, and patience creates unity. Think over that, brothers and sisters. Think over that. Back to the phrase or the quote that I used from Dr. Maulana Karenga at the beginning. Until we break the monopoly that the oppressor or any oppressor has on our minds, liberation and salvation is not only impossible, it's unthinkable. Because it's impossible, a spiritual, mathematical, scientific impossibility to achieve what we have not first conceived and then believed. Look at the word monopoly. Monopoly is exclusive control, possession, and domination, and in this instance, over an individual or a people's mind. Monopoly. Our minds have been monopolized. Other people People who classify themselves as whites in this backwoods or concrete jungle of the United States of America. In any other place that we find ourselves, our minds have been monopolized, manipulated, right? Exclusive control, possession, and domination of our minds. We must break the shackles. We must break the shackles. And if our minds are monopolized, then it's impossible to conceive of liberation and salvation. So we got work to do. And those who are in the vineyard of life doing the work, you know, regardless of some type of degree or certificate or diploma from the so-called powers that be, it don't matter. It don't matter. You don't have to have that to do the work. You know, it's the sincerity and the purity of the heart, right? And the acquisition of the accurate knowledge and information and truth that we need to share and to disseminate. Not just to speak to those who may understand to the level that we understand. It's more than that. Yeah, I know all of us at this time will not have a breakthrough, will not awaken, you know, wake up mentally dead, wake up from the mental graves. I know that. But who's blowing the trumpet? Who's beating the drums to the brothers and sisters in the mud? Right? Those brothers and sisters who may have 1 foot out of the mud and 1 foot still in the mud. Right? But they yearn. They yearn for a better life. They yearn for a better way. Right? They yearn to stand upright, perpendicular on the Ma'ati square. Right? Who's reaching for them? Who's reaching for them? Who's reaching for the masses? Who's teaching the masses? Think over this, sister and brother. Think over it. Consider what I'm saying. Help make sense out of what I'm trying to say, endeavoring to say, and hoping to say. Don't beat up your sisters and brothers. Think over it. Consider it. Steve Biko, with a similar statement, and I always use it, he said the most potent or powerful weapon of the oppressor, and I say of any oppressor, is the mind of the oppressed. Because when an oppressor has captured a people's mind, a people's psychology, a people's consciousness, right? They have monopolized that people's mentality, that people's psychology, that people's consciousness, or that people's culture, which is the total way of life of a people. And in essence, culture is a people's mind. They're unique, special, and specific, right? Total way of life. So those of us who, whether we wear the title of healers or not, but we move through life, sharing and disseminating as best as we can accurate knowledge, information, and truth. Yes, and information highly, heavily spiced and seasoned with unconditional love. We must consider this and keep and bear this in mind, that we're reaching for the masses. That's the goal. And we may not reach the masses, but we aiming for the masses. And moreover, I say, I state a quote from Dr. King that I've said many times, and I will continue to say, or quote Dr. King and Steve Biko and Dr. Maulana Kareem. But Dr. King's quote was this: as long as the mind is free, as long as the mind is enslaved, the body can never be free. Why is that? As long as the mind, the psychology, the mental makeup, the intellect is enslaved, the hand, the body, mind can never do the works of a free mind. Think over that. As long as, I repeat, as long as the mind is enslaved, the body, which consists of the hands, the feet, right, and everything that make up what we call the body, it cannot do the works of a free thinking mind. Think over that, sisters and brothers. And as I begin to wrap this up, and I hope I made the point, and the point was this: we should not expect an individual or a people who have been robbed of the knowledge of themselves to practice or live what they don't know. And even if they know it, but may not comprehend what they know. So it's once again, it's a spiritual, mathematical, scientific impossibility to live, to practice what you don't know. So those who put themselves or have been called to be in the forefront of disseminating accurate information, knowledge, and truth and evidence to the masses of people, right, should bear witness and keep this in mind. Because if we don't, we can end up doing more harm than good. Wow. With all that being said, I was rambling, and I hope it had a certain flow and continuity enough so that you can understand and make sense out of the point that everything is a process. Learning itself is a process. A process is involved in all growth and development and unfoldment. It's a process. So we need to consider the process and be quick, but don't hurry. And in closing, I like to say, as I always do, I read some quotes or make some quotes out of my head or read it from paper. It don't matter, as long as it is out there. You can do what you want with it, right? So don't look at me and say, well, he's always quoting something, he's saying this and saying that. I'm just a vessel, and we all are vessels. So you can condemn the vessel, but if there's any substance that's positive and progressive, take the substance, right? Don't worry about the crown on my head. Don't worry about the glasses that I might have on my eyes. Don't worry about the hairs on my face. That man, he's standing sitting before the camera with the gray hair on his face and so forth and so on. He needs to shave. Don't worry about that. Don't make an issue of that. In closing, a quote from an Arabic philosopher, Ibn Arabi. And most scholars say that this person, his name was more fuller than this, but you do some research, and most scholars say that this particular person here was the prototype for the person that you know of or have heard of as Muhammad in terms of the writing or the information in the Holy Quran. That's another story. But the quote is this: God sleeps in the rock, dreams in the plant, stirs in the animal, and awakens in man. That force and power that we call God, about whatever other name, right, awakens in man and woman. When I say man, I'm talking about male and female. That's man, woman, and man. God sleeps in the rock, dreams in the plant, stirs in the animal, and awakens in man. Here's what I consider a relevant quote, Minister Farrakhan, and I'm not talking about religion, I'm not talking about Islam, I'm not talking about any particular religion, but here's a relevant quote. He said, he who gives you the diameter of your knowledge prescribes the circumference of your activity. Think over that. He or she who gives you the diameter of your knowledge prescribes the circumference of your activity. An African proverb says, not to know is bad, not to want to know is worse. The so-called Buddha said, do not believe in anything simply because you have heard it. Do not believe in anything simply because it is spoken and rumored by many. Do not believe in anything simply because it is found written in your religious books or any books. Do not believe in anything merely on the authority of your teachers and elders. Do not believe in traditions because they have been handed down for many generations. But after observation, and I say after close observation and analysis, critical analysis, when you find that anything and everything agrees with reason and is conducive to the good and benefit of one and all, then accept it and live up to it, unquote. Here's a short poem that I like, and it says the author is unknown, but it's called I Am Not There. I am not there. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am the star that shines at night. I am the silent guiding light. I am the wind blowing through the trees. I am the foam upon the seas. On winged flight I sail on by. I see below as I fly on high. I am always standing by your door. So look for me and cry no more. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. And I might have that requested that put on my grave, that last sentence. Do not stand, that's the way I feel. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. Think over that. Every shut eye isn't closed, and every goodbye isn't gone. The naked truth is always better than the best dressed lie. Not to know is bad, not to want to know is worse. And in the words of Brother James Baldwin, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Namaskar. Peace and love.